Perfect. Good morning, y'all. It is Sunday, and it's that time again. Took me a little while to get going this morning. I wasn't really feeling it. I am the queen of procrastination. It is the driving force behind way too much of my life, and rather the compensation and attempts to overcome it are. But hey, everybody's got weird days, and it's how you continue on and do what needs to be done regardless. Okay? So last week we were talking about Maslaw's hierarchy and how the erosion of the second and third tiers of importance in that hierarchy has kind of led to where we are right now. So I'm going to pull up a little diagram so that I am not misspeaking about any of this. And here we go. I'm gonna make a little. I gotta get like a little visual aid here. I'm gonna start my little visual aid collection, and Papa Fox would greatly appreciate the fact that Maslaw's hierarchy ends up being the first, if not one of the first, of my visual aids. But anyways, Maslaw's hierarchy. Where's my little thing? Okay, so, and technically I guess this is like the second, third, and fourth tiers of our pyramid here, is the erosion of security, safety, intimate relationships, friends, belongingness, basically, and prestige and feelings of accomplishment. So, security and safety is one of the ones that I think has a lot of controversy right now floating around it. And it's understandable, right? But a lot of that, I think, has been accomplished through the erosion of language and this point that we find ourselves in where terms that inaccurately or inadequately describe particulars, and whether that's the application of derogatory terms towards someone that is really not fulfilling or meeting the bar that is being held up as an insult, if you know what I mean. And so there's, on one hand, that, right, like incredibly overblown name calling that results in a outsized connection between the implied meaning behind calling someone something and the reality of that person. So, you know, that's one aspect of why language matters. But beyond that, where I think which that also impacts a community and a, you know, individual's feeling of safety and security, right? But I think that where we're seeing it impact us most significantly is with the erasure of terms like illegal immigrant versus and using a shortened abbreviation of that as saying someone is an illegal versus calling everybody just immigrants, right? And the erosion of that nomenclature and specificity within language when discussing immigration, right? And that directly relates to the erosion of safety and security that we have as a culture, because the United States does have a culture. I think that was something that I also talked about last week. But that's part of that. I think establishing what the United States culture is would be personally, one of my primary attempts with these, right, is to reestablish a sense of pride and belonging, and really delving into what does it mean to be culturally American, and how important that is, and how the erasure of that directly affects our national sense of safety and security, right? Like, it's incredibly toxic and unhealthy to constantly be villainizing a people for who they are, right? Like, if you're constantly saying that America is the bad guy, which I don't disagree necessarily that we aren't the bad guy in certain situations, and we have a history of that, but whether you like it or not, that's a tale as old as time. There's always going to be a constant scrabble within humanity and our along the lines of our cultural and religious differentiations that mean that there's groups that are struggling to be on the top of the heap, right? That's just the nature of being a mammal, of being an animal, of having that, amygdala lizard brain that's living back in there, right? So, that's not offering an excuse for being the schoolyard bully, but I do think that we have seen a unprecedented attack on being proud of being what you are, which is an American, and that there's something to be ashamed of with that, or that this idea, which is completely false, that Americans don't have their own culture. Just because the American culture doesn't revolve around a specific religion or around a specific skin color or race doesn't mean that America doesn't have a culture. And an enormous amount of American culture is based off of the Enlightenment period, and an enormous amount of the Enlightenment was based on looking at Greek and Roman philosophy. So and in extrapolating that into the modern era, and I think that an enormous amount of who we are as a set of morals and principles is rooted in that. And by eroding that, you've created a state where you've manufactured insecurities about cultural identity in a really honestly successful attempt to undermine that nation or that society, right? I mean, there's no doubt that it's been successful, but I think that for me, part of what I want to do and what these Sunday things are kind of delving into how these core needs that psychologically that we need have been intentionally eroded. And so, again, what I'm talking about today is just safety needs, security needs, and I think that we need to be proud of being American. There's nothing wrong with that. So wake up, be proud, and part of why you should be proud and how you should express that is by waking up and doing what you can to continue. Yeah, good job. Great work. Is to wake up every day and try and embody these morals and principles and cornerstones of what makes a high trust society, because that's what we are, right? Like, we are an extremely high trust society, and we need to get back to that. So that's what it's about. And one of the key ways that I think that I really, it is the most important: vote in your local elections. All right, like, make sure that you are participating. I'm looking up voter turnout statistics. Okay. So, but go and vote in your local elections, right? And really participate. Let's see. I really need to like. All right. I hate all of these like privacy setting things. It's so like, oh wow, look, and you need. All right. All right. So. Wow. So this is really, I mean, I don't know. You know what? We're going to go on this tangent. It's important. Okay, the single greatest thing that you can do as an American citizen is to vote, to participate not just in presidential elections, but in your local elections, because that is how you enact change. And yeah, such talent. If I catch you chewing on anything, I'm going to come get you. And the single greatest thing we can do is vote. And to do that often and in a well-informed way, and not just in presidential election years, but in every year. And why is this so important? Because in 2024, only 73% of people that were the voting age population, so 73% of the voting age population was registered to vote. And only 65% of that 73% actually voted. Okay? So, that means that roughly, so, let's do a little math on that. So let's say that out of 20 people that you have in, let me go close the door really quick. Okay. Okay, so let's say that you have 20 people on a subway car, okay? And they're all of age to vote. Only 15 of them are actually registered, okay? And then only 9 out of those 15 actually end up voting, okay? So less than half of the voting age population in the United States, and this is in a presidential election year, which we know more people turn out for that than for local elections. Only 9 out of 20 people, voting age people in the United States, vote, okay? That means that less than half of you are choosing to participate in this. And that's on a presidential election year. All right? So go participate in your local elections. Single greatest thing that you can do to have an impact on the state of your community at a local level. Okay? And beyond that, what are some actionable things that you can do to reconnect and preserve your sanity, frankly. I mean, beyond just preserving what we consider to be our American culture, preserving your sanity. I can see you over there. No! I see you. So let's get back to Maslow's hierarchy. Where's my Maslow's hierarchy? Did I clicked out of it here? This is why I need I need my poster, okay? But anyways, we're really rambly today, and you know what? That's okay. Sometimes it's a rambly kind of day. So, what was I coming back to? The establishment and reconnection with things that help us maintain our psychological needs so that we can reach a place where we feel fulfilled and can reach happiness, okay? Because that's what we all want, right? Yeah, wow, you better watch out there. And in line with that, beyond, participating in your local elections, vote, it matters. And two, the importance of language. And my granddad has always said that the single greatest skill and strength that you can have if you learn anything in school is English and language and how to communicate effectively. And I'll probably end up doing a whole video on that, because I do think that the art of communication and reading literature, which, there was that whole thing that was going around about what men read versus what women read, and on the graph it looked like women were just absolutely pounding men into the dust with their literary voraciousness, right? Which, honey, is reading smut is not the flex that you think it is, okay? That's not what we're talking about. But anyways, that's a whole different conversation. So, importance of language, learn language, learn how to express yourself in a clear and coherent way that is precise, all right? It takes practice. It takes reading, not smut. It takes reading literature, and and vote. But there was also a video that I was watching earlier, and it was what finally got me out of my little procrastination slump, which was predominantly based around what am I even going to talk about today, which we're 15 minutes in and I still don't really know what we're talking about today. And we appreciate your dexterity, ma'am, but this is not going to fly. You gotta not do that, okay? So here we go. You gonna hang out? You gonna chill with us? No? Okay. That was an immediate hard deny. All right. No one has ever been skirted as, wow. You know what? If I took offense, I would be offended. But hey. Anyways, I saw this video of this gentleman who was talking about the 6 things that he thinks have disappeared culturally that have led to where we are. And I agree with this. I think these are things that, regardless of who you are, if you live in the United States, if you live anywhere, these are things that will help you reconnect with who you are, which is the very foundation of being able to establish a strongly rooted foundation, right? Is this ability to sit down with yourself, be honest, and have a realistic perspective on who you are, all right? And if you can't do, and what your beliefs are, and if you can't do that, then of course you're going to be swayed one direction or another by any Joe Blow that comes along that's capable of, using a lot of really nice words together in a single sentence, but doesn't actually say anything. Okay? Any salesman that comes along that can string two words together, if you are not firmly rooted in your own principles and identity that is developed when you take the time to exist in your own mind. Yeah, Kiwi would know, okay? She has very active interpersonal life, all right? But what he was saying, the 6 things that he thinks have disappeared are first of all, he talks about dinner with no phones. I think it's meals in general with no phones. So being able to sit down with a group of people or with individuals and have a meal where you're not looking at your phone. You're not paying attention to it. It doesn't matter if it's buzzing. I mean, if it rings and it's emergency, fine. But be present. Be present with the people that you're with when you're having a meal with them. And his specific example was sitting down and having a family dinner together every night. And I think that's probably true. I think that being able to sit down and have a non-technologically infiltrated meal at night with your family and connect in that way is extremely important. And it definitely has been eroded by this new tendency for everybody to have their phone, everybody to have their iPad or whatever, or to be, one of the things he talks about later on is how everybody's always kind of going into a different room and doing their own thing, right? So, he's correct, right? So have dinner, have your meals together without phones, without technology. Just be present. Second thing, visiting your family on weekends. So he talks about how everybody used to go and spend time with your grandparents on Sundays. Yeah, that used to be a thing. I grew up doing that. Big reason why we don't do that now is that most of my family doesn't live in a, central place anymore, or grandparents pass away, and then that tradition just kind of stops. And again, it's exacerbated because a lot of people move away from where they grew up and don't live in the same hometown as their family. Then thirdly is sending handwritten thank you notes. Handwritten notes in general. And I'm Southern, okay? I'm a Southern New Yorker, born and raised in the South. We send thank you notes, okay? Handwritten thank you notes. I also am a big fan of physical hand invitations. So bring those back too. I'm the Evite thing. Get out of here. I'm not a fan. Morning or evening walks. So he talks about evening walks where you go with your partner or your family and you have an evening technologically free walk where the walk is just about going and spending time together in nature, right? And then fifth is he talks about Friday night at the movies. Me, no, baby. We know it's not Friday night at the movies. It's Saturday night at the movies. The Drifters wrote a whole song about it. The reason it's Saturday night at the movies is because Friday night is for dancing and getting turned, because then you have Saturday to, kind of recoup, take a chill night, watching the movies, and then you can get up and do your religiousness on Sunday if you so desire, but you also have Sunday to recoup from your Friday night shenanigans and then, go to work on Monday, right? So Saturday night at the movies, y'all, bring it back. And together, not just watching whatever everybody else wants to watch in one room, or we're watching something on the big TV, but this person has their headphones on and is watching something else on their iPad, right? No, watch together without other technology. Be mindful that the more that you use your phone and divert your attention, it gets harder for you to focus your mind when you need to. It exacerbates this ADD tendency to just be all over the place all the time. So learn how to focus your mind and pay attention to just one thing at a time, right? And then the last thing that he talks about is just being able to have a conversation, being able to sit down with people and have a conversation that, maybe you fight, maybe you argue, you get into stuff, and then you're able to continue on with your day, continue on with your life, and still hang out and be associated with someone, right? And I think he's correct. I think that all of these things are little actions that you can do because, of course, apparently it's just a reoccurring theme in these videos that I can't get through a single video without my battery dying, which, you know what, hey, it do be what it do be. But, and the equipment is what the equipment is. Now, talking about these little things that you can do to reestablish those core things that are needed so that you feel like your psychological needs are met, right? Like if you were taking time to reconnect with the people that live around you, with the community that you live in, with your family, with your relatives, with the people that you choose to surround yourself with, then it's going to help you meet a lot of these psychological needs that have been eroded by this and the illusion that this and the things that you see on this are life, right? And that's reality and that's belonging. And you know, I mean, we could probably pinpoint this down to like Facebook and MySpace and this idea that people you know virtually constitute as friends. But, you know, who wants to dig into that, right? But, so, you know, if you want to have intimate relationships and feel like you belong to a group, then having these moments where you disconnect from technology and remember to be present in your life with the people that are important to you is a really meaningful way to reestablish a lot of the things that have been eroded culturally and socially in the recent years, right? And we see a lot of that with the erasure of things like public spaces, right? And the prevalence of like online shopping and you know, nobody goes to a mall to just like hang out anymore. You're not, you know, you don't have people going and there's really low rates of participation in things like, you know, the Girl Scouts, the Boy Scouts, the Elks Club, you know, the Moose Lodge. Like all of these social organizations have basically either disappeared or have been transformed into something that the vast majority of people don't even want to waste their time participating in. And I think that's why we've seen a lot of people return to religion, is because it's one of the only kind of organized things where every week or whenever you feel like participating, you can go and be a part of a community that's not revolving around spending money, right? Like it's not about spending money. It's not about getting, you know, wasted and again, spending money, right? And so I think that we have to learn how to look for ways to do that kind of thing and offer those kinds of moments that allow for that outside of just a religious organization or outside of just a religious context. And so, yeah, go out, be involved in your community, be present. Like I said, one of the very first things that I talked about in my video last Sunday, I'm pretty sure, is that we need to just disconnect from your phone. Just disconnect from your phone for your mental well-being, okay? Like, trust me, your life will be better if you just disconnect and stop looking to your phone and looking to consumerism to fill a void that cannot be, it can't be filled with consumerism. It can't be filled with artificial self-transformation at, you know, the hands of pharmaceutical companies under the guise of self-care, right? And It's just not, it's not logical, it's not reasonable. And the very first thing that you can do to actually start building the mental resiliency it takes to just navigate life, because that's the reality, y'all. The reality is that life is uncomfortable. It's the whole thing. Everything about life is uncomfortable. And that's okay. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. But forgetting that and hog tying yourself so that you are incapable of navigating situations when they present themselves is how you end up in a place where you have this almost grotesque amount of abundance, but an inability to feel fulfilled or satisfied with any of it, right? Is because we're looking at our latest Amazon purchase to fill a void in us that it's never gonna do. Like, it's never gonna happen. You can't spend your way into happiness. And yeah, somewhere along the lines we forgot that, but it's gonna be okay, you guys. Go out, take time to yourself, and disconnect. Disconnect, and remember that you are the 6 people that you choose to hang around. So even if that person is a influencer, even if that person is a YouTube, personality, then podcaster, whoever, if it's a parasocial relationship where you may not even interact with that person or know that person personally, it doesn't mean that that influencer hasn't become one of the 6 people that's quote unquote around you the most. So be aware of that. Be aware of what you're allowing to come into your mental space and occupy you, and what are you expending your mental energy on, because it's important. And like I said in the last video, the brain is a muscle, and you have to exercise it in a way that is going to build it into the kind of muscle that you want. Anyways, it's a short one today because, again, I was feeling a little procrastinatory, I was feeling a little lazy, feeling a little unmotivated. But you know what? We're here. We got it done. Was it perfect? No. Do I even have an idea of what I was necessarily talking about this whole time? No. But we did it. We're here. We put it out onto the internet. If you liked it, appreciate you. Let us know. Give us a comment if you liked it. If you didn't like it, get in there too. Let's fight about it. And we're gonna get through this. We're gonna make the world a better place by being better people. All right? So go out there, conquer the world, you guys. And you don't have to be nice, but you do have to be good. So, yeah. Peace out. Get lost. Get out of here.